Hello. How's it going? I don't know if anyone's saying anything, but I can't hear anyone. So can somebody say something?
Hello.
Ah, there you go. Now I
Diana,
heard you.
Diana,
That my name works. My name works. Yep.
buongiorno.
Buenos
Good
dias.
afternoon, Diana.
Good afternoon. That's true. I was saying good morning, but it's not morning anymore, is it? All right. So head over to the chat. I'm going to give a little good morning in the chat here. Good afternoon. Someone, I don't know why I keep thinking it's morning. I've been teaching since 9 a.m. up and about, having lunch. I don't know why I'm saying good morning. Anyway, guess in my brain, it's still morning. It's an early day. Hey there. Hi, Fushie. Hi, Mimi. Who else is here? Dorothy. And let me see, Leon, Don, Marilee, and Rod. All right. And Mary is joining us right now. I had so few people in my class this morning. I don't know if it's the long, some people took off for a long weekend or something and they've not ready to come back to class or whatever, but it was strange. I was like, well, hello, everyone. But I'm glad to see you all are coming back. Let me mute myself for a second. My dog is barking. As soon as someone walks into the room, my dogs get so happy to see someone else. And so he starts barking. I'm like, nope, teaching, keep him quiet. All right. So I don't know about you guys, but after a warm weekend, it's getting colder to me. This morning, I was not wearing this sweater that I'm wearing now. It's weird. All right. Nice to see you. I think, let me see, Mary just joined us and cool. I am going to just take a second while hopefully one or two other people show up to let you know that I have Excel classes that are starting next week, and you might or not be interested in them. But if you are, for those of you who are Mac people, this is, I'm just putting it here in the chat. The classes will be Tuesday and Thursday, and starting next Thursday. So not tomorrow, but the following one. And it'll be Excel 1, 2, 3, and they'll follow each other Tuesday, Thursday, 5:30 to 8:30. Now, if you're a Mac person and you tell me you're a Mac person when we're in class, I can also show you the differences between Mac and PC, because there are some differences, but other than that, Excel is the same for Mac or PC, but people who use a Mac sometimes just use our Mac version of PC is the numbers. So I'll also be happy to show you how it works with numbers when we do things, in case you want to use your numbers app. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out. I put it in the chat. But let me also share my screen to say that the fall session is available and ready for registration. And maybe it was in this class, but the other day a student reminded me about that it's open. I wasn't aware that registration was open so early. So here are the classes I'll be teaching, which are, again, the intro to the Mac level 1 and Mac level 2. But right now I'm not slated to teach this one again, which is what a lot of people are asking about. I'll be teaching create compelling content, which is for any project that you're trying to create you're trying to write a book, or you're trying to make a brochure, you're trying to make a website. So it's like how to create that with lots of free apps. In a way, the Apple app is free to you guys, but it's not really free. It's free if you own an Apple device, right? But there's other apps that are completely free. So I'll be teaching about that. And then digital site techniques in Illustrator and Photoshop. Usually things change, but just so you know, if if you are interested in any of these classes, let me know and I can share about them. I'll be sending an email to everyone about them, but just letting you know that registration is open. Okay, is open and available for everyone. All right, so hi Debbie and hi Molly, who else? Bob and Rebecca. Y'all showing as I was just sharing with the class the fact that the registration for the fall is open and sharing a little bit the classes I'll be teaching. Let me just post this again because anyone who just showed up doesn't have the chat. Please go to the chat and say hello. But also in the chat, I'm putting in the information of an Excel class that I have that's starting in the next Thursday, not tomorrow, but next Thursday. So if you want to learn Excel or numbers if you're a Mac person, I'll be teaching that Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. All right. So I am going to now continue teaching from the Ventura computer. I'm sharing my file, my window from the Ventura computer, which, as I said, once you're in iLife, in the Photos app, there is not that much of a difference except for the duplicates. And this is what we saw at the very end. So anyone who had to leave early or didn't completely see this conversation, please watch the recordings. But if you have Ventura and older, not if you have anything older than Ventura, but Ventura allows you to also search and deal with your duplicates. And this was what we ended up doing. Now, I just wanted to show, unless there's any questions and people had worked on it, my goal always is when I teach you something, especially in this type of class, you guys go, turn my class off, but there you are, you're working with photos. And anytime during the week that you have to work with your photos, try to apply the things that I'm teaching you so that then you can have questions, because while I am leading you to do it, it's easier to do it and do it right. But then sometimes I am not leading you to do it and you're trying to do it and then something doesn't work. And that's truly when you can say that you've learned, right? If you've actually can do it on your own. Hi, Deborah. So try to do it on your own. Try to do it maybe a day or two after you did it with me, where now it's really truly dredging from your own information. And if you can't remember how to do something, then watch the recording to rewind, review the things that we did. Or if it's working, then yay, you can keep working on your cloud library or your photo library. So the last thing we did was merging duplicates, but I wanted to show one last thing regarding that. And again, for those of you who just joined us, you would only have duplicates here if you have Ventura operating system and not if you have anything older.
Deanna, I have
yeah.
a question. This is Debbie.
Yes,
I
Debbie.
don't have it, or I can't find it, and I have Monterey. Is that older,
No,
newer? What is
it's
that?
older. Ventura is
Is
the
it bigger?
newest operating system. So Monterey
Oh.
is one older than Ventura. And in Monterey, down to anything else, unless you have operating system Ventura, you cannot have inside of the app. There's no duplicates version. So for those of you who are wondering whether to upgrade or not, I always say there's certain things that might be a choice as to why to upgrade or not to a newer operating system. If you use your Photos app a lot, this might be a good reason to, balance it in favor of actually upgrading. Now, some computers cannot upgrade to Ventura. If so, then you would have to buy a computer. So then you'd go, okay, is it worth buying a computer, right? Well, again, that's up to you, but you need to like the feature enough to want to buy a new computer. By the time you have 2 or 3 or 5 issues that are available only in Ventura, then you start going, okay, well, maybe it's time to buy a new computer. But other than that, just for one good feature, it's probably not worth it, right? So anyway, your choice.
How do I even do that? How do I upgrade it? I mean, it's supposed to be automatically doing things.
No, in the Mac classes, I'm teaching Mac level 1 right now, intro to Mac, Mac level 1, Mac level 2. I spend a lot of time teaching how to upgrade and operating systems and all of that. So I'm not really going to deal with that right here. You can ask me if you want after class or something, I can stay and help you. But right now I just kind of made,
Yeah, I'm sorry for interrupting.
no, that's fine. Just explaining that what I'm showing right now is only available for about half of you guys, because about half of you had told me you had Ventura, the other half did not. So I'm gonna spend only a couple more minutes with this because only half of you have it, but it's a goodie. It's one of those really good things to have. So I showed you a couple of things about this, and I'm gonna turn on my info so that the info window is here. And the main thing was that if you click on one and the other, and there is no change, then the computer considers it identical. So if I click on this one or on this one, there's enough change here, but not in the pixels, nor in the time it was shot. This one, on the other hand, has a very different day that it was shot, right? And of here, October 1 says one, March 30th says the other. So you'd think, how can these be duplicates? Well, one of the reasons this is has a different date, and the reason I can know is because of the file name. When you see down here, this long file name, screenshot 2021, that is the kind of name that you get on a file when you message it, when you text it to someone. So this was a photo that was texted, and I texted it to myself into this account, the school account. And I texted it once in March and once in October, right? So I have duplicates. It's the exact same photo, right? It was taken, screenshot 2021 at 10 a.m. at 4:33, at 4:32:44. See, it has exactly the same file name, but the date is different. And in this case, a different date might mean it's a different photo, but the computer can tell that if the pixel numbers are identical and the file name is identical and the file size is identical, and the file name is identical, then even though it has two different dates, the computer compares all the pixel data and goes, oh, this is exactly the same photo. So that's why it's here under merge. Hold on, I see some questions, but I just wanted to say, so not everything has to be absolutely identical all the time. On the other hand, this one and this one, no matter how much I click on one another, see how nothing changes here? This is truly the duplicate that has no difference at all between file name, time, or anything. Same with this one. These are complete duplicates. This one, on the other hand, is again, the same photo, same type, same size, same everything, but one is a JPEG and one is an HEIC. So it's image 15555 JPEG or image 155 HEIC. And the computer considers them identical, ready to get rid of one of them. And I just want to let you know that this is true. This is actually true, because if you have an HEIC in your computer, whenever you want, you can expand it into becoming a JPEG. So it's not like you need two of the same, but JPEGs are bigger than HEICs. So the photos camera tries to keep your photos taken as HEICs now instead of JPEG. So look at the HEIC is 2 megabyte size, and the JPEG version is 4 megabyte size. So it's double the size, just because of the compression that's used. So if you keep all your stuff in JPEG mode, your library will be double as big than if you keep it in HEIC mode. Last week, I think Fujiya had asked, well, how do then I use an HEIC for things? And I showed how you can export it as a JPEG, or you can drag it out and do the JPEG. So it's easy to convert that into a JPEG if you want to. That said, when there's two of the same type, the one that'll disappear is the JPEG, and you'll keep the HEIC because it's the one that then you can keep half the size of your library for the same photo. Okay, just want to show you those two things. And one last thing, and then I'll take questions. The other day, I purposely did 2 screenshots, which is this one. It's a screenshot of my phone, okay? And then this one, right? And if I go back and forth, I'm going back and forth and back and forth from this one to this one, from this one to this one. I am going back and forth, and this is this that I'm showing you is a screenshot of my phone, so it looks like my phone, but it's in my computer. Nothing is changing, and I'm like, how can these not be duplicates? How can these not be duplicates? So now look here at this title. I swear I'm going from one to the next. Tell me, what do you see is changing? I'm gonna go, now I've changed. Okay, so now I've changed. Oof, now I've changed to one and to the other.
2.2 megabytes versus 4.3 megabytes.
Mhm.
So these are the two I'm showing you in my library, okay? This one and this one. So here's my info. If I click on this one, it's image 0115. If I click on this one, it's image 0116. The fact that it has two file names already means it's not a duplicate, okay? But they are identical. I mean, visually, I was changing here from one to the other and you guys couldn't even tell because it truly is identical. It's a screenshot taken. One of it was taken at 3:50, 30 and 30 seconds. And then I waited 15 seconds. I was doing this in class for people who were still here. I did this one, it was at the end of class, screenshot of my phone. Then I waited 15 seconds and I took the next one. See how this one is 3:50:47? The fact that these are two different photos and do not show up in the duplicates is because it has a different file name and a different time. The computer doesn't know if someone's smiling here or sad here. This could be a group photo that I'm shooting one after the other, but in one, somebody closed their eyes and the other one didn't. So as far as the computer is concerned, if they're two file names and two different times, it does not matter at all. The file size is identical because they're both identical screenshots. So there's no bigger file size, no more pixels. It's just 15 seconds later. That's enough for the computer to not have put this one in my duplicates because it's like, why isn't it here? Well, because computer can tell it's two different photos. Happen to show the same thing, but it's two different photos. All right. So I just wanted to say that this is the piece that I hadn't reviewed last week. And now there's a question there, Rebecca. I can't hear you. Can you turn on your unmute yourself?
Sit on mine, the ones that I need to merge, it's the first part is the HEIC, and then the second one is always a JPEG. Is there some setting that I have that saves them as JPEGs also?
No, this one is an HEIP. This is the, sorry. So you're saying, is there a setting that saves both of them?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's like there's so many of them. I'm wondering why I have so many.
Yeah, on your phone, you can choose whether to shoot only in one version or in both.
Oh,
In
okay.
your phone settings, okay?
That makes
Let me see if I can find that setting. If so, I'll share my screen. Give me a second. It's under in the system settings. Hold on. I need to unlock my phone. The computer has to find it. So I'm going to share my phone. Okay, so here's my phone. So I went to my settings in my phone. I head down to the Photos app.
First.
Is it in the first part?
Yeah. I have it under TV and music.
Here it is, Photos. Okay, click on Photos. And then you have a choice. And I'm trying to, this is an older phone. And the photos that you saw were from my newer phone. But I'm trying to see then if on this one, show featured content, and this one, it's not there. Oh, sorry, because it's not in photos. Duh, it's in camera. The camera is the one that takes your pictures, not the photos. So under the camera, there it was. So under the camera, you can tell it what formats, right? So at the very top, it says formats. And this is high efficiency is the HEIC. Okay. So to reduce file size, it says down here, capture photos and videos in the high efficiency format. Most compatible will always use JPEG. Okay, so if you choose this, it'll choose it JPEG. If you choose that, it'll shoot at high efficiency. But one thing that this camera is not saying, and that I remember, I think my other one says there's a choice to shoot in both. And I don't see that here.
I also have RAW and
Yeah, because you have a newer phone like me. This phone that I'm using for school is older and it doesn't shoot in RAW. Let me go ahead and see in my personal settings.
So would it be better to do high efficiency or most compatible?
Well, as I said, hold on. here I am. And my other one, it does also let me shoot raw. So when you choose high efficiency, your photos will be for sure saved as HEICs. And last class, I showed people how to, if you have an HEIC, right? So one of these is an HEIC. Let me find here. This is an HEIC. Okay. This photo here is an HEIC. If I were to just drag it out onto my desktop, what comes out on the desktop is a JPEG. It saves you as a JPEG. That's not the best way to do it though, because when you drag it out, it's not the best export. It changes the resolution and things like that. So the best way to do it is to go up to the file export option. And then if you just say export one photo, and I have this one saved, right? Selected. If I say export one photo, it'll choose, do you want to save it as a JPEG or a TIFF or a PNG? Like, do you want to change it and have it be a JPEG? So you do that and you export it as a JPEG. So say that you take 200 photos. If one of those is going to be used to put in a newsletter, well, you might want to change it into a JPEG. That said, if you're doing programs like Adobe, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, those already accept HEIC. A lot of this HEIC has been around for a few years, and now most programs are already accepting it to work as if it were a JPEG. But if you want to export as a JPEG, you can do that. Now, if you're going to go and use 100 of them, well, then just shoot in JPEG. But how many people are going to put 100 of the photos that you shoot in one same shooting for a project? Most of the times you might have a slideshow and use one from this year, one from last year, one from another year. Same with books or brochures. So rarely do we need, 100 photos of one kind to make it worth changing. So anyway, that's the best solution, so to say, is to the few that you're going to use for something else, that if the program you're taking it to doesn't accept JPEG, then go ahead and change it. Now, one last thing, other phones and other people aren't able to see JPEGs. So I was going to move into this today, which is what if you share this photo with someone who doesn't have an iPhone or a Mac? Because HEIC is an Apple process, right? So if I were to share this photo, a lot of people, I didn't want to really ask you, when I said drag it out to the desktop, I say that with a lot of hesitation, because that's really not a good idea. When you do that, you now have the same photo twice. You have duplicated it. And then later you might see that photo on the desktop and go, oh, I wonder if it's in my computer, because now you remember, but in a week or in a month or next year, when you're cleaning up your computer, you go, oh, is this photo in my Photos app? I'm not sure, so I don't want to throw it away. So I'll put it in my Photos app. Boom. Then that's when you start getting duplicates, right? So ideally, you do not put photos on your desktop, especially to share your photos. A lot of people think, oh, I'm going to share this photo and this one with my friend. So people have told me again and again that what they do is they drag it onto their desktop so that they can share it from there. And I'm going to say that is completely unnecessary. Let me show you how to share a photo. So everyone go grab a photo that you want to share. In particular, I'm going to share this one because it's an HEIC, so you guys can see what happens. I'm going to say, and I have to, you can select 10 at a time. If you're going to share 10 at a time, you can share as many as you want. I'm going to share one. Okay. I'm going to go to this up arrow right there, which is always on a Mac, the share, meaning to take it out of your program. Every Mac program has this. Every part of the computer, when you see any other programs, Google, Adobe, the little up arrow from a box is the universal share. And what share means with move it out of this place you're in, and you can move it to another. So I'm going to click on share, and you can either put it into a shared album. You can send it with AirDrop. You can mail it. You can put it in your notes. You can do it as well. There's so many things you can do with it. You can message it. You can do whatever it is that you're going to do, right? You can send it as a text. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and mail it. And so I clicked mail, and there you go. It immediately opens up as an email. It opened up my email. Oh, it's not sharing that. Hold on. I need to create a new share for you to see. But when I said email, it opened up my email program. There it is. Hold on. And my email program opened up. See, with it already says who it's coming from. and I'm ready to send it to someone. So I'm going to go ahead and send it to my pipeline account to E. Musakio. So I'm sending it to my school account. And over here, I get to say what size I want to share it to. I want to send it actual size, big old file, big old humongous file, or do I want to share it as a small file or as a medium size, large, or actual size? Sometimes large and actual size are the same size. If the photo is really big, like if it's a raw image or something, then it won't be the same size. It'll actually be a different size. So if you have 10 photos here, you might, the only reason you would send people the actual size photo is if they're going to print it. If you're just sharing them for them to see it or to put it online or to post it on social media, you don't need the big one. Medium or small is more than good enough, right? But if they're going to print it, you want to send the whole thing. So let's say that I want to send this medium size to this person. I'm going to say, okay, ready to go, and see how it just attached it to me directly. I don't have to do anything else. I'm going to go ahead and say send. Oh, it has no subject. That's true. So test sharing from Photos app. So that's what this mail is going to be. I'm going to go ahead and send. And then when I go into my my email in a second, this is not sharing. Hold on. My share. Whenever I share my screen, it has to share a different app. So here now I'm sharing my email app, and in any minute now, it might take a little bit of time to arrive. I can go over here and I'll see an email arrive. That photo that arrives, when we look at it, we'll go ahead and when it arrives, I'll check in. It's not here yet. So I'll check in on it. Now, some of you guys, this computer isn't set up for texting. I haven't set this one up for using the messages, but for a lot of people, when you do this, you would find messages here. Like you can message it, you can send it by text. Okay, the messages app, that would mean you would text it. If you text it, for sure, it converts it into a JPEG. If you don't text it, if you email it, depending in where it arrives, if it arrives on a Mac, it might keep it as an HEIC. If it arrives on anything that's not a Mac, it'll convert it into a JPEG. Because the idea is that when you leave this program and send it to the world, JPEG is what the world uses. Okay. I've left your hand up for quite a while, Mimi, so sorry about that. What's your question?
Well, you just brought up another question for me. I don't have mail as an option for my photos.
Mm-hmm. Well, that means that your Mac mail is not set up right now in the process in the system. You're in the Mac classes and the Mac level 1 and Mac level 2, and all those I'll be teaching you how to use the Mac apps to do that. But if not, you're probably using your web browser, Gmail account or something like that right now. And so the Mac operates within its own system. And I don't even want to go into everything else, but hold on. But one of the reasons when you have a Mac and you have a device that's a Mac and you have a device that's an Apple iPhone, the easiest thing to do is to work within the Apple environment and to use all of the Apple apps, and then it's all kind of works seamlessly, right? You receive a text and it says, meet me at 2 p.m. You hit that text and you say, sure. And it immediately creates an appointment in your Google, in your Mac Apple calendar. And then from the calendar, it shows up in your photo. Like it's all like a little environment, an ecosystem where it all shares itself. And if you take my Mac classes, I'll teach you that. But if you instead are using, like the Chrome browser and Gmail app, you can use, by the way, the Mac Mail with the Gmail app and stuff like that. But you need to use the Mail app, then everything works seamlessly. Other than that, you can, I'm not going to teach you how to use the Mail app right now. This is the Photos app, but that's why you don't have it connected here automatically. As much as I don't have this computer set up for texting right now, because it doesn't have a phone that comes into it, And so then I don't see messages. If I had it set up for messaging, then I would have the messages app right here. Okay. Which is my texting app. All right.
Another question. Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you don't want to go into this, I don't know, but like say you want to send a text to someone and you want to take a picture in that text and send it with your text.
Mhm.
It seems like that photo will then be in your text, but it will also go to your photos and be in your photos.
Yeah, because you photographed it and any photos you take with your phone lands in your photos. Yeah.
But then if you delete it from your text,
No, it doesn't delete from the text. It doesn't delete from the photos app.
okay, so in order to, and then if you delete it from your photos, it wouldn't delete from
No,
your, they're not
no.
connected.
They're
Okay,
not connected, which is why, and that's why in a way your computer's in a little bit of trouble, is because you have things in your text and in your photos, and that's why they're taking double the space, right? Because the whole cloud system, if you delete it from the cloud, it deletes or not, but not in your text. So for example, say that I were to go, let me see if the photo arrived in my mail yet. Let me refresh. It's checking for mail. It hasn't arrived yet, but at some point it's going to arrive in here. And when it arrives, if I, the receiver, decide to delete that photo, it's just me who deletes it, but it will not delete from me, okay, from my app. And if I message it as well. So once you leave the Photos app is what connects to the cloud and to your phone. If you delete it from your phone or from your Photos app here, it deletes from everywhere. But once you send it out with this share icon sends it out to other places. And if in those other places you delete it, it doesn't affect this. Okay. So that question that she's just asked, for people forget if it's messaging or not, or texting, all the other part, that's fine. That's an answer for her. But for everyone else, just know that if your photos are connected through the cloud to your phone, if you delete them in any of those places, in your phone, in your iPad, or at your computer, or on the cloud, if you went to the cloud, any of those that you deleted, it deletes from everywhere. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete this one right now. Find a photo that you want to delete. And if you don't have any you want to delete, then that's okay. Delete it anyway, because we'll recover it. So find something that's kind of not good enough that you really don't care about. Select it. And then to delete this photo, there's 2 or 3 different ways to do it. One way is to just go to your keyboard and hit your delete key, right? Like, you know, if people are accustomed to doing that, you hit your delete key and then it says, oof, delete from all your devices. This photo will delete it from the iCloud photos on all your devices. See how it's warning you? Be careful. It's not deleting just from here. And I'll say, that's okay. I want to delete anyway. So I continue and I say delete. Well, that photo isn't yet completely lost, because what it did is it went into this folder called recently deleted. Okay. So if I click on my recently deleted, it's asking me to enter my password because it's a shared one. So I need to enter my computer's password. And so here it is. It's in my recently deleted right there. And it says I have 29 days left. So what that means is that it'll sit here. It's as if I was in my office and I put a crumpled piece of paper in my trash bin in my office where it's all paper and it sits there for a while before I empty it. Not like the kitchen that has to be emptied all the time. This is, you know, under my desk, it'll sit there for a while because it doesn't fill very quickly. So in this sense, it's still inside your house. It's still taking place on your computer. It's still taking up the space. It's just living here for a month, right? And so in 29 days, if I have not recovered it, it's going to disappear. And then it's gone from everywhere. But for now, I can recover it from here, or I can also recover it from my phone's recently deleted. So over here, I deleted this one 15 days ago. So now it's telling me it's 15 days left. right? This one I deleted last week, so now it has 23 days left. And this one I deleted this week. I've been deleting one every class so that we'd have an example here. And then this one has 29 days left. But if I'm cleaning up my phone because I'm sitting around waiting to do something with my life, you know, sometimes you're waiting for people and you have your phone with you and you're not at home in your computer. So if I'm sharing my phone, I can do the same thing. I go to my Photos app. Okay. So remember Photos app. And remember that down here, the library is where I see everything, months, days, and years. But whenever you want to find something else, you go over here to albums, because that recently deleted is also an album. And we're going to talk today more about albums. And so here I have my albums, shared albums. You might not have any, people's, places. And then down here, I have media types, albums, tons. And then at the very bottom, I have my duplicates. For those of you who have a Ventura, if you don't have Ventura, then guess what? You will have the duplicates app in your phone, unless your phone is really old. But if your phone is newish and your computer doesn't have Ventura, then this is where you'll have the duplicates app on your phone. And then down here, I have my recently deleted. So when it, see how I have a little lock on it, I haven't passworded. So when I go to my recently deleted, I have, and there it is. There's my 29 days left on this one, 23 on this one, 15 on that one. So I could go ahead and delete it from here. Okay. I'm looking at the notes that someone just wrote. Oh, Thomas, you wrote, I have about 2,500 duplicates. Is it really important to take time to delete them all? Well, it's up to you. If 2,500 photos that are duplicated bug you because every time you try to find one or the other, you don't know, they're in different places and it's complicated, then sure, delete them. 2,500 photos takes up some space, but not as much as you'd think, as long as those are not videos. 2,500 seems like a lot. And for people who hate having duplicates, yeah, deal with them. That is a lot of photos. But if you have, 20,000 photos, then 2,500 is just a drop. But if all you have is 5,000 photos, 2,500 is double, right? So I think it depends on how many photos you have and how much storage space you have on your computer. I would say that you don't need to do it urgently, but over time, why don't you start getting rid of, 100 at a time, you'll break them up. And if you try this, if you do the duplicates automatically, test them for 10 photos, for 20 photos, for 50 photos. If you see that consistently, it gives you the result you want, that it's always correct, then you can just have it do it all at once. Say, okay, boom, do it to all my photos. And suddenly 2,500 photos will be done at once. I was just, let me head over to albums again. And let's head over to, I'm going to go up here to back out. In the phone, you have to back out. I'm going to go to recently deleted down, to duplicates right here. And there is a possibility to not do them one by one, but to do them all at once, right? If you go up here to, to select, right, not the, my button, my mouse, my hand pressed on the wrong thing, to select right there. You can select all of them, right? And then merge them all. So you do that to your 2,500, and I'll show you how to do that on your computer, and boom, in a few seconds, you'll have only one of each one of those 2,500. Does that make sense? Now, I just wanted you guys to first check it out, make sure that it's making the right choices. And as long as you believe it's making the right choices, then yeah, you can get rid of all of them at once. Okay, you don't have to go in one by one.
A related question, if this is the right time. One of the reasons that I'm reluctant is even taking the time, because I have 65,000 photos.
Yeah.
It takes forever
Mhm.
to delete duplicates or to even just to delete a photo. And so I tend not to do it at all, which just gives me that many more photos.
Yeah, so you can
Is
just
that
do
just
it
a
all.
function of having boatloads of photos?
No, I mean, what computer, you've said this before, what computer, I'm gonna stop my share for a minute so you can see. What, do you have a new or an older computer? Is it full or is it
Yeah, I
empty?
have a new computer, a year
And
old,
it's not very full, you said, right?
not very full. It's full of photos.
Okay, but your photos, okay, I was gonna say, your photos are in your internal hard
They're
drive
on
or
a
an
hard
external?
drive,
An
yeah.
external hard drive, yeah, I was gonna say. I think that a lot of that is your external hard drive very new, or is it an old one?
I'm not sure,
Okay.
fairly new.
Fairly newish, because it's that connection, like it's not in your computer, it's the connection from your
Ah, I
computer
see.
to the hard drive. And depending if it's a USB-C or USB, depending on what the connection is, those connections sometimes are really slow or fast or faster. The connection to your external hard drive, right? And so I believe that that's the best, like if your computer is full and the photos are in your computer, that can also slow it down. But when they're an external hard drive, it's even slower. And if you have an old USB style app, it's even slower versus if it's a USB-C. So depending
it
on
is
your
a C.
connection. Yeah. So,
is
you know,
C.
it all depends on those kind of things. So
I've
yeah,
just kind of given up at ever deleting or, getting rid of anything. I just keep everything because it takes so long if I try to do a little organizing, and as a result,
yeah,
I'm getting more buried.
if your computer has a lot of space, maybe you want to just copy your library file back into your computer, deal with it, and then drag it out again as an option, as long as you're really comfortable with that fact that you're not going to lose anything.
I don't know.
From inside your computer, it'll work much faster.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. But on your phone, you might be able to do this. And if your phone is new, it might happen really quickly on your phone. A lot of the things that, the other day I was teaching someone how to do something on the phone and someone said, oh, I'll never do anything on my phone. That's great. Don't. But when your computer isn't for some reason up to the task, if your phone is new enough, your phone can do it fast, right? Because those photos in your phone, as long as you're connected to the cloud, then it'll go at the speed of your phone instead of your speed of your computer. That said, I don't know if you're on the cloud. I think you might be one of the ones who isn't, right?
No, I have too many photos for
Yeah.
even the most expensive option.
Yeah, 65,000 doesn't, I'm not sure if it's too much for the expensive option, as long as it's just photos.
No, it's about 20,000 videos as well.
Yeah, okay, that's where I'm going to stop.
So
It's the
it's
videos.
huge.
It's the videos. The videos are the killer. Yeah, the videos wouldn't let you. And that's probably why it's also so slow. I might want to recommend that maybe what you want to do is you want to offload your videos and keep them separate from the Photos app, and that will speed up your whole process and have your photos another way. But do you edit what do you do with your photos, edit the videos? Do you edit them with Apple?
Yeah, iMovie.
In iMovie. Okay, so then you might want to keep them there, because if you use iMovie, then yeah, that's a good place to keep them. You could also move them to a folder on an external hard drive, and then from iMovie, you just go look for them in that external hard drive folder. That's to upload the videos. That allows you to make your photos move with agility. So you could consider that. Okay.
All right.
Right.
And one more while I've got you related,
Yeah.
maybe not for now, is that I keep getting a message now that my photo stream, which you taught me to get on last class, is ending. And I wonder if there's something we should do.
Yeah, and I had a couple of messages from other Mac students telling me that, and then Yolanda told me that. Yeah, the photo stream is ending. So at this point, the only options they're giving you is either by hand or through the cloud. Yeah, they're done with the photo stream, unfortunately. That said, the photo stream didn't work on videos, so you still had to do your videos by hand.
Right.
So you
So
might
as long
well
as I
do-
keep downloading my photos to my computer,
You're fine.
nothing
Yes.
changes.
Yes,
Okay.
nothing
Can you
changes for you.
explain what photo stream is? I'm confused.
Hold on. First of all, no, because the whole point is it's ending. It's something that existed before the iCloud, and everyone who is using it has received a message that they're never going to use it again after the end of this month. So no, I'm not going to bother explaining it, because if you don't know what it is and don't use it, it's gone. So it's the people who have it who need to be forewarned. So yeah. Mimi,
So
sorry to be so abrupt. It's just that it's not worth teaching you something that is obsolete. So yes, Mimi.
I'm just trying to clarify this. Tell me if I'm wrong or right. If you take a picture with your phone and you text it that picture will go to your photos in your computer. It'll go to the cloud and then it'll go to, and if you,
And it goes into your text. So suddenly you have two of it.
yeah, so there's one in the text and one in your photo.
Satisfying.
Yeah.
If you delete it from your photos on your computer, that will not delete the one in your text. That's
No.
a different, whole different thing, right?
Yes. Mhm.
Got it.
Mhm. Yeah.
So therefore, deleting in your text doesn't touch the one in the computer.
Doesn't.
Okay,
Text and photos don't touch each other.
okay.
But they do duplicate, which is the problem, which is why when you text a lot of photos or videos to friends and family, in the Mac classes, I'm teaching people how to delete all this extra stuff, because in the Photos app, it's the right place to be. So in this class, you don't need to delete them. But if you've texted a lot of videos, those have been duplicated into your text. So you need to go and delete those from your text to lighten up your text, storage, right? Or maybe you don't want it in your Photos app anymore. You delete it from here as well. It won't affect it. That's the question that she has. It won't affect it either place. You don't need it in both places. If it's a video that I want, I would want to keep it in my Photos app, because if it's a video of my baby taking the first step, I want to keep it forever. If I delete it from the text, it still says in my Photos app. But if I delete it from the Photos app, my text at some point, you know how texts scroll through, and then I'll never know where that video is again to go find it. So I definitely would want to keep it in my Photos app and delete it from the text after everyone has received it. Like if I text something to my mom, once she has received it, when I delete it, it deletes it for me, not for her. Okay, so I lighten up my space, but she still has it in her text. So the internet has sent it to her, the cloud has sent it to her. She now has it in her phone. If her phone is getting full, it's up to her to delete it, right? But it's not, if I delete mine, it does. That's the good and the bad of texts and emails, is if you delete your own, it doesn't delete from others. So say you deleted the wrong photo to someone, or a really bad, a personal photo to your boss, and you delete it from your side. Sorry, the boss already has it. Like, it doesn't delete. Once you put it on the internet or the Wi-Fi, it's there. Okay, so be careful because deleting it only affects you, not the thing that you sent. Those people still have the file, which is why a lot of people get into trouble with things that they sent, because they go, oh, I deleted it. Well, no, once it's out there, others still have it. All right. All right. So yeah, deleting it is for your sake, for your phone and your computer's sake. It doesn't affect others. And that's important to know. All right. So now I am sharing my screen again. And here we are. I have spent quite a bit of time with a lot of these things that the computer does to organize your photos. There's some more that I haven't dealt with, which is people and memories. So I'm going to deal with those a little bit later. Most of the rest I've been talking about. Let me scroll down to over here under albums. You have a thing called media types. This one's important. So if I click on media types on its own like that, I'll see some boxes in here, which are individual media albums. If I want to see which in particular, I can click on this little arrow. And this is, again, the computer organizing. Remember, I told you that I'm going to be teaching you how to organize on our own. But first, we're going to see what the computer does to organize. And what the computer does is it sorts it by the kind of photos that you have. So if you click on videos, then every video you've ever taken will appear over here. Like in my case, I have a total of 25 videos in here. Up here, it's telling me how many videos I have. Excuse me. And remember, I told you these are the space hogs. So if you see that you have 10 videos of the same thing, and if they're like 2-second videos, then you can have 10 of them. But if you have a 10-second video and you have one of them, that's equivalent, right? So you want to try to start looking at the bigger ones. And so how do you know which one is bigger? Well, over here, it's telling me how many seconds. This one is a 12-second video. This one's a 19-second video, a 9-second video, a 25-second video, a 7 video, okay? So this little number is telling you. So you might want to just look at that and go, all right, well, why bother if these two are the same? Let's look and see which one is better. Of course, that's the most important thing. But then you can delete 25 of these 4-second videos and it wouldn't be worth the time, just if you can delete one 27-second video, if it isn't the one you want. But of course, if the 20-second video is the important one, then you want to keep it. I'm not saying to delete important videos, but many times you sit there and film a whole landscape, when in reality, it's just like maybe the center of that was worth it, right? So I'm going to show you how to edit videos and stuff like that. But for now, consider that that's the best way to tell. And again, these are in order of in time, right? So I have videos here from November 2005, and this one's a really long one. This is my son's third birthday party, 3 minutes and 27 seconds. That's a really long video. That takes up much more time than, 20 others of these combined. But guess what? I'm never getting rid of that one, right? Because it's just like the only video I have. A friend sent it to me, by the way. I was in the middle of being in the birthday party and she took a video of my son blowing the birthday candle. Great. I love it. It's worth having it for 3 minutes and 20 seconds versus the other videos. That said, it's my son's third birthday party, which is he's 20 years old right now. So that's from 17 years ago. So the file format was so much tinier what a phone could take. Remember 17 years ago, our phones, these little tiny. So even though it's 3.5 seconds, it's such a tiny file size. So you have to consider that a 20-year-old or a 17-year-old video is still also a tiny file, just because the phones didn't have the capacity to save big things right now. Marilee? I can't hear you. Your sound is up.
This is on the subject of videos. I'm looking and I have a lot of videos that I used when I took your iMovie class. Now, if I delete them now, will they go delete them from the iMovie that I saved?
Yes and no. The video, and this is for people who did iMovie. If not, just we'll talk about this at the end of class, at the end of the last couple of weeks of class. If you've used that clip in iMovie, then it'll stay. It'll be used by a clip. But if you haven't used it, then it'll delete because it means that it's unnecessary. So yeah.
Okay,
Because
so
because iMovie didn't import them, just so you know. iMovie was just viewing them. Through iMovie, you were really viewing them in your Photos app. So those that you chose to use, they got incorporated to your new movie. But the rest of them that you're just viewing, if you delete them from Photos, you won't see them through the iMovie either. Okay. It's only when you get used that little bit duplicates itself and keeps stays in iMovie. All right?
Diana,
Yes.
it's me, Sarah. I'm
Hi, Sarah.
on my iPhone. I'm just checking in and then I'll get back to my place. I'll be on the computer, hopefully, but I wanted to make sure that I checked in with you.
Thank you. That's good. Thanks for telling me you're there. All right.
Bye.
So guys, over here under media types, you can check your videos, any selfies you've taken, any live photos you've taken. We'll talk about those in a minute. Any portraits. Now, these are settings on your phone. And I'm noticing that a couple of minutes ago, Yolanda wrote, what is the cinematic that's showing in the Photos app, right? So some of you guys in your camera, when you shoot a video, there's a mode if you have iPhone 13 and newer. So basically at this point, only iPhone 13 and 14 have a mode called cinematic mode. And when I was showing you the modes in the camera that said RAW or HEIC or JPEG, in her case, she saw also the cinematic option, right? Well, you would only see that if you have an iPhone 13 or 14. So if that's what you have, if you have a 13 or 14, then you would see cinematic mode. And it's a mode that allows your phone to focus and blur the rest of the background when you zoom in or zoom out, which in the videos camera, iPhone 12 and older, the camera couldn't do that. But now, as it gets, the phones get newer and newer, they already got pretty sophisticated in what they can do with photography. Now they're getting more and more sophisticated in what they can do with video. So the video is advancing. In fact, my son is a filmmaker, and he won a contest once where he was given a phone to film a video with that phone. And it was a good video. It actually was a Jimmy Fallon. I don't know if you guys know him, but he ended up winning a phone from Jimmy Fallon's show that he was supposed to film a phone. He was supposed to film a video, a 1-minute video with the phone. Because yes, they're getting so advanced that you can do some amazing stuff. And one of those is that cinematic mode is making it more and more sophisticated. Anyway, if you ever want to know why to update to a new phone, again, like I said before, if you're someone who takes a lot of videos and want them to be better than they are now, well, it's worth it going to an iPhone 13 or 14. If that's not an issue, then the cameras from a 12 or a 10 or a 13 or 14, they are getting better, but much more sequentially. The video is jumping ahead right now. So anyway, there's a setting on photos where you can take a portrait setting. And what the portrait setting is that it blurs the background. So in this case, for example, this photo was taken with a portrait setting with the setting of the background really, really pushed to show it an example. And so you can see how the flower is in focus and the background is out of focus. That said, it's not 100% good because you can see how some of the photo also got blurred, right? I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. And so see how half this photo, the flower got fine, but this part of the photo is blurred, and it's the same flower, so it makes no sense. So when you crank it up so much the way I did to this one just to demo it, then you get like a little bit of a ghost image. But if you do it with less, intense than that, then it's actually a really good way of getting a good portrait. So this is a portrait I took of my son, and this is my youngest one. And see how the background is there, but it's not so intrusive because it's a little bit blurred, right? So without the extremeness of that photo, it gives it a blur that had it not had that, then that would be a very busy photograph, right? So yeah, whenever you want some blur, okay, so like that, then that's a pretty good mode. If you take a portrait using that mode, then I go on walks up here, and whenever I go on walks during Christmas, there's this family or this house that sticks little balls, Christmas balls on their plants, and that's a photo in that mode. If you take a photo with the portrait mode, it shows up here. If you take a photo in your selfie mode, it shows up here. If you took a photo in your video mode, it shows up here. So this is representative of what you do with your phone. I'm going to explain live photos in a second. Panoramas, has anyone taken a panorama before with your phone? Again, it's a phone choice, right? And as you can see, you can do an amazing panorama. So you guys might be more familiar with this one, which is the City College, right? So it's basically, you turn around and you would never be able, you would only see like half of a quarter of this if you were to take a regular photo. So this goes from end to end. So that's another of the settings your computer has. Screenshots, if you ever do a screenshot, I was telling you how these are screenshots, right? So this is a screenshot. It's a typical place for me to do screenshots is if when I'm going somewhere, traveling somewhere, and I want to have an idea of where to go or how to go, I'll take a screenshot of that. And I'm walking there and I don't want to have my phone on all the time. Maybe I'm running out of battery. So I'll screenshot the way to get there, and then I'll just walk there. I'm saying walk there because we were in New York, and I wanted to know how to get to the subway entrance, and so or the exit, and I had to walk that way to get to this theater. So I just did that. I did a screenshot, and then when I get out of the subway, I just looked at my screenshot. I don't have to do the whole search again, and it's great when you're running out of battery. So then there's animated, there's raw, and there's live photos. So I'm going to explain some of those. Is there anything else here that you have that I don't have? You might have slow-mo or fast, something like that. Can anyone else read over here? Something on yours that is different than what I'm showing?
screen recordings.
Screen recordings, okay.
Yeah, under,
Yeah.
under screenshots.
Yeah, so screen recordings are interesting because instead of a screenshot, which is a photo of your screen, a screen recording is a video of your screen. And so, for example, if someone is playing a game and they want to record their game, they might record their screen. Or in my case, if I'm teaching, I've recorded my screen a few times to show the steps of what to press to get to somewhere. The only thing I have to caveat is that people may tend to make really long screen recordings because you turn it on and then it stays on for quite a while until you remember to turn it off. And they are huge, right? Huge files. So be careful with that. If they happen to be done by mistake, then you want to make sure to get rid of them. If you did it on purpose, then great. There's a reason. Maybe you're FaceTiming with a friend and it's their birthday and you record a bit of that FaceTime or that Zoom, and then that remains as a screen recording. Okay. So yeah, you would have that. Anything else that anyone has here that I don't have? Lucia, you're saying something, but I don't know if it's to me.
I have a time lapsed.
Time lapse, yes. Time lapse or slow-mo. Some of you have time lapse or slow-mo. So both, yeah. So under videos, I have time lapse and slow-mo, except for that I didn't take them with this camera. So I transferred them here to this phone, and so they show up as videos. But had I taken them with this camera, they'd show up as slow-mo or time lapse. So let me show you. This here is a slow-mo, and it's, again, you turn on the video, and when you see these things, you hit the space bar, right? So they get big, and then you can press play. And so this is a slow-mo of water coming out of the kitchen faucet. And then this takes a millisecond to put my hand in there, and there you go. Pretty cool, right? It's simple little photo of just my faucet, but you can do that from your phone. And I'll show you now where, if you don't know. And then a time lapse is the other way around. So this says this says 19 seconds, but it actually lasted like what, 3 seconds to take that video, but it expanded it into 19 seconds. This is the other way around. I probably shot this for a whole minute and it turned into just 9 seconds. And that's like the sky moving across and the flags fluttering, and see how it's going really, really fast. So that's the time lapse. Okay. You know, you've seen time lapses of flowers opening up and things like that. So where do I find all these settings? I'm going to share my phone with you now. And this is all from your camera, right? All of this is in your camera. So you open up your camera, and here's where you have the settings for shooting time lapse right there, for shooting slow-mo, for shooting a video, for shooting a photo, for shooting a portrait mode photo, or a panorama. Okay, so these are all the photos, that the settings that you can take. Now, a few of you guys might have something more. This is an iPhone 10, the one that's my school iPhone. So that's all I have. But under these choices, some of you with a newer phone probably have other options or choices, or more advanced options or choices, right? So like when I go to video, all I can do is shoot video. But if you have a newer computer, you can turn on cinematic mode and do other, newer phone, I'm sorry, and you can do other stuff with it, okay? Now, let me show you over here in my video setting, over here it says HD 30. That is 30 equivalent to, this video takes 30 photos per second. So 1 second of this video is equivalent to 30 photographs. Okay. Some of you guys might have a bigger number there or a smaller number there, but that's how high the quality of your video is. And where you do that, again, is in the camera settings. And it's similar to what I was saying before. Over here, I can record at 30 frames per second. That's the default. But if I go over here, I could even be choosing to record at 80 frames per second or 60 frames per second, sorry, right? Or 4K at 60 frames per second. So if this is one of the lower versions, if I take my videos with this, that is, I don't know, imagine 10 megabyte size. If I take it with this, that same 2 seconds might fill up 100 megabytes, right? Because it's really high quality with 60 photos for every second. So if I take 3 seconds, you know, if I take 4 seconds, I've already got equivalent of 240 photos, and that's just 40 seconds. And the file is much bigger, et cetera, et cetera. So over here, it tells you a minute of video will be approximately 40 megabytes when you do the smallest one, right? That one, 60 megabytes with the next one up, which is the default one, the one that it assumes most people need, 90 megabytes, 135, 40 megabytes. So 40 megabytes to 400 megabytes just for 1 minute of video, okay? So you go up so quickly. You would only do this if this is like, you know, you're trying to do something very professional and stuff like that. Other than that, most of us are fine with something like that, right? So my son, when he shot that video for the competition and from Fallon, he went to the highest one and yada, yada. But with, you know, it was a 2-minute video already fills up half of your phone, right? So depending on how many gigs your phone can keep. So be careful with that. That default setting is a good one, but it's just to show you how hard it is, how much space videos take, okay?
And
Anyway.
what should we be shooting on? What would be the regular setting for that?
This is the one that they call the default setting. So if you have changed it from that, that means that you're not at the default setting, meaning someone changed it, you or someone changed it for you.
I'm at 4K at 30 FPS.
4K at 30 FPS. And if you do some stuff professionally, that's fine. But other than that, it's not really worth it. It's high resolution. So if you're going to go like my son had to show his film at the Arlington Theater, right? Really big screen. Then you definitely have to shoot at the highest level. And I think the newer cameras have an even higher one here. But if you're going to, what's that? Oh, over on the side, I heard my son who's hearing me saying that they actually, even for the Arlington Theater, they showed at 1080, you said? Yeah. How many frames per second? 23.98. Okay, so they actually shot at this and it played and it looked really good at a huge screen. So you'd only do this, as I said, if you're really trying to do some high level professional kind of stuff. So it's not worth it, the amount of space that you keep to do that at all. I would highly not recommend that. So yeah, so when the video was asked to submit for Jimmy Fallon, they asked them to submit it at this ratio, not even at the big one. So there you go. So that's all I can say. All right. So I have my headsets on, so I couldn't hear. Then I heard someone speaking in the background. I opened up and it was him telling me, because he could hear what I'm telling you guys. So anyway, I wouldn't go any faster than that. Anyway, and then the slow-mo here, to make it go slow, to make it go really slow, where you saw those drops moving out, that's 240 FPS is frames per second. So 1 second of that video that was slow-mo gave me equivalent of 200 photos. 1 frame is the equivalent of 1 photo, just for one, you know, for that much. So yeah, they take a lot of space. So you don't want to just do a ton of slow-mos unless you need to. All right, so this is where you make those choices. Okay, most of you guys will just shoot with whatever the camera came. And if you do that, then this should say HD 30, which is the one that I just said is the default setting. Now, I just wanted to show you these choices, but the most important one that I can show you right now, I'm going to head back to photo, is this live photo thing here. It can be on, live, or off. I'm turning it off. Okay, live off. So see this little circle, on or off. Now, if you turn it on or off from here, by default, when I say by default is the way the photos is set to do automatically. Then when you close the app and you open it up again, it here, even if you turn it off, it will be on again. Okay. So unless you change that in the settings, this will want to be on all the time. And even if you turn it off and you remember, when you close the app, if you want it to stay off, like mine, that I close it up and open it again, it stays off, then you have to change that in the settings. But first, let me explain what slow-mo is, so you guys can decide if you want it or not. But let's go over here to my computer. I'll show you what live photo is, so that you guys can decide if you want it or not. Hold on. Here you go. All right, so here's live photos. Live photos are small videos, short videos. I think they're 1 second or 2 second videos. I don't remember right now how much. So the for better or for worse, what live photos do is they I'm going to just spacebar this one, and it shows you hover here over the live. See how I put my finger over here over the live? It shows you the video. So I think it's 1.5 or 2 seconds. I can't tell how much. See that? It's a little video. So I just told you how many, like one photo is one photo, but 1 second of video could be 30 or 60 photos. So if you shoot everything in live photo mode, all your photos, in fact, are little videos. If you hover over the live photo, there it is. It's a little video. So you're saving one photo, but in the end, it's really 30 photos. Does that make sense? So I first had to explain videos before you could see that. So you look at them and they look like photos, or like, oh, what's the problem? It's a photo. Yes, it's, why in the world would I want a minute here of the, oh, I already turned this one off. This one's still here because it was a video and I turned it off. Is this a live photo? Yeah. So it's a moment when you're going, okay, smile. And during that whole second, this photo gets taken. It makes sense if you're photographing dogs or children that move really fast, or a friend of mine was photographing her kid jumping off a rock. And so in 1 second, the kid goes from rock to the ground, right? So in 1 second, you can catch him in the air. I'm going to show you this photo of my dog. He's looking at me. This was the moment I shot. See how he looks away and back? If I had taken only a picture, I might have snapped right then. And I'm like, oh, he looked away when I was taking a picture. Oh, he looked away. But since I was shooting a live photo, I managed to get him looking at me. Does that make sense? So if you have a good reason to shoot live, go for it. But if not, the camera automatically shoots live for no reason. And then you're stuck with, like, you know, all these long videos of nothing, right? These were sample photos I take of just, why would you want all that? So there's a way the way to turn that feature off is to turn it off from the settings, like I just told you on the phone. Now, if you go to live photos and you see that you have thousands of them unnecessarily, you know, then that's a feature to turn off. Now, given that my whole library only has 518 photos, I would say that 30 photos, that's a biggish proportion of my photos. But fortunately, I seem to have turned it off in these samples photos looking up, but sometimes it turns itself on again. and unnecessarily, like I didn't want it to turn on. Other times I might want it there because now maybe in this moment we took this photo, maybe there's a moment that's better than another, right? So when I show you how to edit photos, you can choose which of these 25 photos is good. So I'm going to show you in a second that I can go ahead and choose the best moment for this group photo, right? And so maybe that's the best photo, or like maybe someone's eyes were closed in one and better in another. And like, see right there, this guy's closing his eyes, but when I move over here, his eyes are open, right? So you can choose which one you want and make that one be the famous photo. I'm going to do this when I teach you about editing. So I'm not going to necessarily do that right now, but I'm just showing you how, if it matters, then you can choose that. So here's another photo where I could choose from him looking away or looking away, and I'm just going to put it at the place where he's looking at me at the best way. And that's going to be the one that I'm going to use. Does that make sense? So, so live photos, if you don't need, here's the perfect example. Thank you. I thought I couldn't find it. This is a photo I took on Christmas, right? This is my little, my kid's cousin, my little second niece or something like that. This is great as a little video, but also it's got this thing called bounce, which is an animation. You can choose to animate it, and I chose to bounce it. And so then it keeps going back and forth. And I did that also in the editing of the video where I bounced it, but the video itself was that's all it was. So isn't that a great photographs? I took this picture and I sent it to her mom. It was like, oh, she was so excited. I would have never captured that moment if it wasn't because it was a live photo. Okay. So anyway, just saying that that's the kind of thing that you can do with live photos. Other than that, it's not worth it. Any questions? Once a live photo, always a live photo. You can edit it, but you can't get rid of all those. So just the only solution is don't take them.
So
Yeah.
you can't take one frame out of it and delete the rest. No.
No, you can do that with another thing called the burst, but not with the live photos. With the live photos, you can edit it, and you can, so if this is a live photo and I edit it, I can choose which photo I want of this moment, and you can minimize it as in editing. I'll show you, I'll show you how to do this when we do edit videos of that next to last day, but that doesn't mean that you can get rid of it. If you undo, you can always revert to original. You'll always get your photos back. So no, it doesn't permanently remove your video. So just don't shoot in live photo mode. Now you've been warned, and now you know that that's taking up a ton of space. It's like 30 mini 1 second videos that I have here instead of, and each one of these videos has 30 photos. So it's 30 times 30. Okay. So these 30 photos are the same as 900 photos. Quite a difference, right? Yep. I'm not hearing many comments. I just want to make sure that other than listening, that you guys are making changes if you think so or not, or asking me things, but if it's all good. And
This is explaining why I have so many photos. I think mine was automatically on, so everything I've got's a live photo. And all the videos were shot at 4K.
There you go. I was going to say, unless you're really, yeah, there you go.
I still have a lot of photos, but
Yes, but 65,000 shouldn't be too much. When I said offhand shouldn't be too much for the cloud, that depends, because 65,000 where a lot of videos and they're all live photos, suddenly it's like times 10 times 20, right? Photos. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So yeah, change the settings on your camera, and then you can, the next year or two, you can shoot 10 years worth versus what you shot in 1 year's worth as far as size, right? So yeah, good for you, for being in this class and learning this. Yay. All right, so Rod. I can't hear you.
Deanna, I'm sorry, this is Don. I have a question.
Yeah, give me a sec because I had called on Rod and I'll call you next. But do you remember how to set up your raise your hand? Only because I want to respect other people's raised hands. Now, if it's an urgent question, if something's not working, I'll answer it right now. But if it's just, okay, so go to the reactions, the little emojis, if you can find them, and then put your little raised hand there. Yeah, Rod? I'm not here. If you're talking to me, I'm not hearing you. Maybe this is the same problem you were having last week because your sound was unmuted, but now it's muted, but before it was unmuted and I couldn't hear you. Now you're muted. So anything you're doing, I can't hear you. I think this is what was happening to you last week, Rod. So I'm going to go on to answer Rebecca while you try to re-enable your sound. Okay. And I'll keep you in line. So yes, Rebecca.
If you take your favorite shot out of a live photo and you text to somebody, can then you delete the live photo because you've saved it in a text?
It's a great question. In fact, yes and no. When you text it, it loses its live photo-ish quality, so to say. And so you can then, if you want, enter that one in and it will, reinsert it into your photos. But the text usually use quite low quality. So if this is a favorite photo that's really important to you, you might want to not do that. You might want to keep the live photo. If it's many photos that you don't really care about, go for it. But emailing in large mode or in actual mode might do the same trick. Try that. When it comes back, like email it to yourself to another email address that you might have, and then bring it back in. And then when you look at it, it probably, when you downloaded it, probably will, I'm going to test that. I don't know. I'm going to test that myself. It'll come back in non-live mode, in which case, then that might be the large quality. I'm going to test that. I'm just guessing that this might work, but I don't know. So thanks for that question. I want to know now.
Me too.
Because yeah, that live photo mode isn't something you can turn off unless you exit it from the Apple environment, right? In which case, then that would give you the straight photo without all the other stuff. That would be a good idea. Rod, it looks like I can hear you now. So
Yes, I'm talking to you through my iPhone, which is plugged into my computer somehow.
well, I'm glad you have the know-how to make it happen. So yeah, what's your question?
I'm asking a question. How do you turn on the live photos?
If it is off, let me share my screen. Hold on, I need to share my phone. Okay, so if you're sharing your phone, I need to move this over always to see it. Here we go. So if you are, if you're in the camera and you see this off, because I have turned mine off permanently, right, on purpose, then if you want to turn it on, you just touch that little corner there and live turns on, right? So now it'll stay on until you turn it off, right? The setting that you can, I'm going to turn my camera off right now. So I'm deleting my camera. And when I open my camera, it's on again. So the setting that you can change in the settings, all it does is preserve the last setting is what you do. So if I leave it on all the time, even if I close my phone, close the app, when I open it up again, it's on. If instead I leave it off, when I leave, I turn my phone off, I open my camera and I open it again, then it stays off. So you can't, in the settings, you can't turn it on or off. All you can do is say, preserve the chosen setting, right? So this is how you do it. You go to your camera settings. There it is, camera settings. And the choice is preserve settings right there. Click on preserve settings and preserve the live photo setting rather than automatically resetting it. Because if this is off, every time you turn it off, when you turn off the phone or the camera and when you open it up again, it'll automatically be on again. And so people will constantly have live photos. Like Yolanda here says, on live photos, it happened by accident. Someone I asked to take our photo, hit the live photo. How do we remove it? Exactly. Once you turn it on, it stays on. Once you turn it off, it stays off. So if you come in here in the settings and turn this on, right? Then same with this. If you turn this on in camera mode, then if you left it in video, it opens in video. If you left it in portrait, it opens in portrait. I turn this one off because I want to always choose what I open it to. So it automatically opens in photos normally. But this one, I want it to always open off. So by turning this on, then my camera will stay off as long as I turn it off, or on once I turn it on. So to your question, Yolanda, how do you remove it from being there is by turning it off, and it will stay off as long as this choice is on. If this choice is off, then each time you open your camera, it'll be on again. And then you'll have you, and then I have that happened to me a lot of times. I forget, I turn it on, and then when I forget to turn it off, then it stays on. And next thing I know, I have another 30 photos of live photos, and it's like, because not because I don't mind it per se. It's just that it's a space hog, right? Why would I want it on all the time? So that's the creature. So if you want to know again how to get here, go to your settings, scroll all the way down until you see your camera up right there. This is where you have your photos and cameras up. I'm going to open the camera. And then here, where I had shown you before, the formats for video or other stuff, preserve settings. Okay. So I'm going to click on preserve settings, and there it is. Turn this on. Remember, if you put it on, it'll stay on. If you turn it off, it'll turn it off. But at least you'll have a way to control it from the camera instead of from here. You don't have to come here anymore. The other thing that I want to point to is in the past, people who have older phones that have still the button in the middle used to take a photo with a button, the one that you pressed. If you pressed for a long time, you would get something called a burst. Now, that was so problematic. People were getting bursts all the time that they took it off. And if you have a newer phone, the burst is now you shoot a burst by using your volume up phone. So you really need to do it purposefully now. And I'll tell, if you don't know what a burst is when you take a photo and you take, as long as you keep your finger down, you could take 10, 15, 20 photos of that moment, identical photos, and you had 20 photos of the exact same moment. If you want to do it on purpose, like I said, jumping off of a rock, you want to catch the kid in the middle, that's a good idea. But if you want, instead of having it in live photos, then you can get rid of all the rest of the photos. So it's a better version of a live photo. But if you want to, if you don't want it, like it was happening with the button, it was a hassle. Like I remember my mom took three photos of my husband and I once as a portrait. And when I went to open them up, each of the 3 photos she had pressed, and I had like 47 photos of each photo, right? And so then fortunately though, as a burst, you can delete them as opposed to live photo that I said you can't. So it's still not a bad idea, but now you need to use your volumes up if you want to burst. Okay. There's a ton of questions, so let me ask in turn. By the way, the alarm went off that I should be giving you guys a break already. So I don't know if the questions are long. I'll tell you, I'll answer after break. If it's a quick question, I'll answer it now. So how about I go down the 4 hands that are there and just tell me what your question is, and I'll tell you if I answer it now or later. So Deborah. Your sound is still muted. You're muted, so I don't know, but it looks like you're saying move on or something.
Now, here's the question is.
Yeah, I wanted to.
Hold on, Debbie. Fougier comes next, so hold on. Fougier.
Hi,
Deborah.
or I'll raise my hand again after I find my question.
No, you can leave your hand up. You might find it during break and then you'll be first. Okay. Fougier, what's your question?
I'd like to make sure that when you said preserve setting, so I go to live photo, turn off, then
turn on.
Oh, turn on.
Turn on live photo on. You want to see it on.
Okay.
Okay.
But I don't want that, you know,
The live photo. Exactly. That having this on, it gives you control. If this is not on, then it's always on. But
Oh,
if
okay.
it's on, what the on does is it allows you to leave it the way you leave it, is what this means. So if you turn it off, it stays off. If you turn it on, it stays on. Versus if this thing is not on, then it's always on. It basically always turns itself on. Okay. So this gives you control in the settings to turn it on. Isn't turning live photo on. It's turning on the option that when you turn it off, it stays off. It's convoluted here, but just trust me, turn it off in the cameras. And now, as long as the settings is on, then it'll stay off in your camera.
I got it. Thank you.
Right. So that was a good one to answer now because it's the follow-up of exactly what I've been saying. Oh, Debbie, you put your hand down.
No, I don't think so. My question was, I have all my photos in Google Photos and Apple Photos. Is that bad, good? The reason I did it is because Google has a better way of, like, if you ask for all pictures of a horse or whatever, you get them. And,
yeah, well, actually, it's not better. I'll show you how to do that here in Apple. But the quick answer to that, and we'll talk more about it when we look for searching and stuff like that. But if you do that, you have your photos in two places. And as long as you're not paying too much, go for it. But there's no need for it. But hey, if you do it, go for it. Google is charging you now. Before it didn't charge. Now it's charging. So you need to consider, I'll show you how to do this. You compare it to what you like there, and then you choose. Okay, but hang on, because you can also look for horse photos here and it'll show you horses. Okay, and the last question was Yolanda. Again, if it's a quick answer, I'll do it now, and if not, after break. So Yolanda, what's up?
So just a clarification, when you told Fuji to leave the live photo on, I will still have the option to turn on and off the live photo on top of the on the camera.
Yeah, it is confusing, guys, because it seems opposite, right? But if this is on, it gives you control over live photos. If this is off, your live photos will basically always be on, right? So by turning this on in the settings, right, it preserves the live photo setting you choose rather than automatically turning it on. Right? Because if this is off like that, then every time you open your camera, it will default to turning itself on all the time. Versus if you turn this off, then it'll preserve your last setting instead of turning it on. So now when I go to my cameras, if I leave it off, it'll stay off. If I leave it on, it'll stay on. But with this other way, then it would always stay on, right? So you want to be able to have the choice to turn it off and to keep it off. That's the choice that you're making. And so this one gives you control over it. With this one not on, you have no control over it. It automatically, like Apple wants to have you do it all the time. So that's the place where you do get control. Okay. All right. Again, that was just a review of what I'd done. So I answered it. Now let's take a break. Oh, Deborah, was your question? Did you find out? Was it about the same thing or?
You don't have to answer it now, but what my question was is under preserve settings. And I wanted to have some recommendations for what to turn on. I do understand the concept, like with no question with the
so it's the
live
same
photos, but I was wondering if at some
other
point
ones.
you could talk about like camera mode, creative control.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing as live.
Yeah.
Which means right now with them off, okay, and I'm going to share my screen one more time because I'm explaining this because it's the same thing, you guys. I just didn't want to start on a new subject, but if it's the same thing, I'll explain it.
Okay.
Camera mode. Right now, this is off, right? So when I open up my camera mode, I'm going to just turn my camera off right now. When I turn my camera on, it's always on photo mode, always. That's what happens if this is off. right?
Okay.
If I want it to preserve the last mode, right, then I turn this on.
Okay.
What does that mean? That if I am taking a slow motion right now, when I close my app, next time I open it, it'll be set at slow motion.
Got it.
So it preserves the mode you want, which in the case of live photo, yes, I want it to preserve that I want it off. But in the case of camera mode, I personally don't prefer to have it on. I prefer it to always start in photo. That way I'm not confused, because many times I just want to open and shoot. My default mode is always photo, not portrait or pano or video. So if you're a videographer mainly, you might want to keep it always in video. But since I want photos, I keep this one off. And the same with the creative controls. If you've used a filter to make everything look pink and you leave it on, then every time you start, it'll give you that automatic filter. And some people want to always use a filter for all their photos, then keep it on. But if not, I choose to keep that one off for the same reason, because I want each time to start with an empty photo and I choose whatever filter I want each time, right? So the only one that I turn on is this one, because yes, I want control over always having my last setting for photos, which is off, to stay off for the live photos. So that's the only one I turn on, okay? But it's the same exact concept, all three of these. You turn them on, the camera stays with the last thing you did. And yes, I want that with live photo. I want it to stay off, but I don't want that with the rest. But then you might want that. You might always want a certain aspect ratio lighter setting, then you leave it on, which say you're shooting one same thing. You're at the place where you're shooting inside of a wedding and you're going to be there for 3 hours. And because it's really dark, you set it to a special ratio. Well, then keep it on, because then every time you pick up your camera to take another cute photo of that moment, it'll look good, right? But then when you're done, you can turn it off and then go back to 0. So basically, that's just a bit more advanced. And my suggestion is to do this. No, no, yes. Okay. That's my suggestion. You guys can play around with it at your heart's content. All right, let's do a break. What time is it now? 2:37, 2:47, 48, 49,
50.
53, right? 53 would be 15 minutes. Break until 4:53. Is that correct, you guys? Is that 15 minutes? If no one corrects me, I'm going to assume that's 15 minutes. All right. See you guys in 15.
Potentially retire a little bit.
Yeah, it's not gonna happen all at once.
Right.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I overspent time on my break. I was looking up, and I usually put my timer on, but somehow or another the timer wasn't on. So anyway, hi everyone. Please come back. All right. Here we go. All right. So if you're here, give me a show of life, show a sign of life. Either turn on your videos or say hi or give me a thumbs up or something. It's those who you don't have videos on. So I'll know you're back. And yeah, here we go. Ooh. Sorry about that. Okay. So I'm actually going to, oh, have I? Oh, by the way, my photo from the sharing that I did arrived, just saying that I put it here in my email. And just to know what happened to it, I don't know if you remember, but I had sent a photo that was here. I need to put the password. Hold on. I had sent this photo away, but remember that this photo was an HEIC. Remember that? So this HEIC I shared with myself. Here I received it in my email. And if I look at the file that I'm going to download, it's going to download as a JPEG. See that? So by emailing it, I'm downloading it as a JPEG. Now I'm interested, I'm going to test the live photos. I'm going to send myself a live photo because now I'm curious, and we said we'd test it. So I'm going to do the same thing and see later if it arrives.
Mine was sent in JPEG too, also, even though I didn't specify.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. So this is another test. That's the question that people had was, if my photos are HEIC, how will I use them for other things? And I was saying, well, don't worry, because they're, once you share them or use them, they turn into JPEGs, right? And I'm just proving that that's true, that this one that I sent as an HEIC arrived as a JPEG. Okay. And now I'm going to see what happens to the live photo, because that's the next test. That one, I don't know what it's going to do. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to show it as just a photo without the rest of it. Okay. Now there's a couple of other things I have here, which are animated and raw. And by the way, I was looking at my personal phone, which is an iPhone 12 Pro Max, and I was looking at the settings for my camera, and in the preserve settings, there's, I don't know if you can see, but I have a ton more choices. Anyway, and my video, I don't have just camera mode controls and live photo. I also have exposure adjustment, night mode, portrait zoom, Aperture Pro, RAW, things like that. And so, but if you look at the settings, they all operate the exact same way. They all give you the exact same choices. And actually, this was an answer to Deborah, who is just joining us right now, in fact. So maybe the rest of you might have not cared or not about that answer, but just saying that that's what I just found out. So Deborah, I was just saying that in my newer phone, I have many other choices under preserve settings, but in all of them, it's the same question, so to say, right?
Okay.
So I have like 10 or 7 or 8 choices in my newer phone, but it's always the same. It's like, keep it on if you want to keep the last setting or not.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so here I have a few other choices that I'm going to teach you. Animated, for example, and other stuff like that have to do with when you edit the photo. So I'm going to just leave it there for now until I teach you how to edit photos. Now, in a quick segue to the question that Debbie asked before leaving, she said, well, I have Google Photos or Apple Photos. I know many of you don't have that question, but the reasoning she gave is something that I want you all to know how to do that here. She said, because it's easier to write horse and get horse photos. I'm sure she has other examples. That's the one she gave. So I just want to show you what she's talking about and what I mean, what she means and what I mean about the Apple doing the same too. So up until now, I've shown you how certain things have ways to define based on their metadata. If it's a selfie, if it's a video, if it's a, favorite or stuff like that. I'm going to go through people later, but I showed you places. It shows you places. Now, how about if you want to see if there's any photos of horses? Well, I know for sure I don't have any horses here, so I'm not going to use that, but I do have a dog. So over here where there's a search, and again, it's the search of my Photos app, not the big old computer search, but this one, the one near my info window, that one right there, that's a magnifying glass. I'm going to click on that. And here I'm going to search for dogs, for example. And so any dog photos appear, right? And then
Where do you stay?
if I don't want, so if I want a dog there, all the dog photos that I have appeared. If I say, okay, someone's talking, Bob, let me mute you because I think you're talking in general, not to me. Then I'm going to write, for example, I don't know, plant. And so any photos of plants, I'm going to do snow, right? And then all photos of snow. So what I'm trying to say is there's a real strong search. I only have 500 photos, so there's not much to search through, right? So it's not finding that many of each thing. But try that, put general things in here that you might think that you have. Let me see, house, and there's different photos of houses, right? So if I look into that one, here's a house photo, right? And so on and so forth. So go ahead and try that. It's just a matter of turning the search on. Now it won't turn on until you click on it, not turn on, but it won't appear. You click on it and then you do a search. So there's other things I can search for that are more specific, but certainly, let me see, fish. There we go. Here's fishing, right? Or even this one, which is on a pier. That's interesting. This is a pier. So there might be some fishing going on it's the Santa Barbara Wharf. So it's giving me a photo of my son fishing and of the pier. So it's pretty generic and pretty good. Let me see if I say, what else can I say? I'm trying to think of what generic things I might have here. Boy, man, plant, flower. Let me try flower. And there you go, bunches of flowers. It's just telling me that these are the flowers. I have 36 flower pots, 11 flowers, 2 flower gardens, a file that actually has the name flower, et cetera, okay? So that's a way you can do just general searches, which sometimes is all you need, like water, 73 photos with water. And if I look at them, yeah, there's water in all of them one way or another. So there's 73 photos. So if I want to see all 73 photos, I click on see all. And I guess snow is water. That's interesting. Yeah, it's a point of view. And then the ocean, lakes, rivers, snow, ocean, river, ocean, port. Okay, there's water in the port right there. So yeah, it's pretty many versions of water. When I want to change that choice, I click on this little X to clean it up and I make another search. Okay, play around with that while I see some hands up. So I'm answer some questions. Yes, Fougier. Your sound is off.
I just want to know how I can look at the past recording of your classes.
Okay. The recordings of my classes are all in the, let me share my, screen. So, I need to stop this share first. Okay. Oh, sorry. So, oh my God, what's happening? My computer, every time I say share, this is my other computer, it's just jumping around. Basic Wow. It's something's really wrong here. Wow. Okay. Am I sharing anything?
No.
Something's weird. I'm going to share on my other screen, but there's something really bizarre happening, which is I'm going to have to do it on this computer. Anyway, so yeah, I can't even describe it. Every time I try to share, my screen starts to shiver and shake. I don't know what's happening. I'm just going to give
Can
up
you
on it.
just say it in a word at least
No,
I-
basically you have to go to the browser, right? And then go to the handouts. I was going to show you directly, but in my handout in the school handouts, I've shared with you guys how to go to the shared drives and then go into the iLife folder. And in the iLife folder, there's a document here, the Zoom class recordings. And I have the class recording. So like I have the first two, and then today's, by tomorrow, the other one will be here. So you need to know how to get to the handouts. I'm going to email you, in case you forgot, a video telling you how to get to these handouts, which is basically you go into Pipeline, sign in your Pipeline, and then go to your shared drives, and
Shared
that's where
drive.
you'll find it.
Okay.
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 So yeah, we'll do that. And sorry, I was just thrown because in my other computer that I always share, suddenly I couldn't share. It was doing crazy things. I don't know. But that's the one that I control the class from. So that was weird. All right. Yes. Oh, by the way, here's my live photo emailed to myself. Let me see. It's going to come in as a JPEG. So there you go. So Deborah's question, I emailed myself a live photo and it just shows me a JPEG. If I download it, it will not be a live photo. So there we go. That's the answer to that question. All right. Mary. Your sound is off.
I'm having some problem with that search. How would you suggest? I was trying yesterday to find all the photos I had from the 4th of July. But when I do it on the MacBook versus the iPad, I get different results. And one of them gives me every July I ever did, but I want only July 4th. So is there some way to do that?
A little bit harder. Depending. For the most, I think it's how you write it, like July 4th. See, it's giving me probably 3 July 4th. It's just that this isn't a real full, I don't have a real library here, so I don't have a lot of July 4ths. I'm going to show you there's a different way that you can do a smart album. And when you do a smart album, you can very specifically say 4th of July.
Okay.
But okay, Marilee is saying Independence Day. Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to teach you guys something called smart albums. And in a smart album, you can actually say, give me all photos of July 4th, period. And if you want to say that, it'll give you July 4th of all the years, right? But remind me when I get to shared albums and I'm looking for ideas of how to specify smart albums, that will be a good one to show. Okay. But yeah, in the search, it's harder to put exact dates. And let me find an exact date here, because since I don't have a full volume here. Let me see. This is June 17th of 2023. Okay. So say that I want to find a photo of June 17th. If I write June, then I have 145 photos of June. But if I go to June 17th, then yes, it did work. These are all photos of June 17th. Okay. And this one, if I look, is June 17th of this year. I know, because these are the photos we just took. This one here is June 17th of 2016. See that? And this one, this is June 20. So I guess they gave me something nearby. But yeah, the only two that I have are this one from 2016. And then these are all the same thing. These are all the photos I just took in our last week we went to Berkeley with my son, who's going to start in oh my God, in 4 weeks now. Oh, sorry, I don't want to think about it. He's about to go. I'm missing him already. And so there you go. It worked to put the date in there. Let me find some other date that I have here. Anything. What's this? This is December 29th. Okay. So let me just find December 29 and look like it's the only photo I have for December 29. But you know what? December 25, Christmas, I might have some more. Yeah. Here I have, this is on December 25 and this is on December 25. So again, I know that in my real app, I have a lot more for things like December 25, but there you go. Is that working for you guys? To put a date there and it's finding things for you?
It's still a little quirky. I don't think it's as reliable. So I'll wait to hear about the smart albums. And it might be because I have so many old photos, they're not all dated correctly. I don't know. It's like kind of a mess.
Yeah, remember what I said at the very beginning, that if you date yours yourself, anything above 2000, I don't know, my oldest photos that are actually digital photos taken with a digital camera are from 2003, when my first son was born, which is this guy, the guy who's now going to college. And when he was born, that was the first time I had a little digital camera. So that's the date that I can trust. Any older thing than that, and I have photos that are older, was scanned in or the date was changed to it or something. And so, yeah, it's a little bit harder to trust that because those photos aren't really digital cameras. But some of you guys might have not gotten a digital camera until 2010, right? So then anything older than 2010 is not reliable. Okay, so yeah. Now you said different results on your iPad than on your MacBook. If you search exactly the same identical wordings and you have the identical library, ideally, you would think you'd get the exact same results, but each time you do a search, it's and all over the computers in any app, each time you present a search in Google and anything, it gives you the results in the moment that it finds. And rarely will a search in two different devices ever give you the exact same results. And that's just a function of how the searches are like unique searches each time. And yeah, ideally, that means if you only have 10 photos on December 25th, why isn't it always there? Well, next time you search, it might give you. So it's reliable enough, but it's not 100%. Yeah. Debbie, I thought I had seen your hand up.
Yeah, I have
On now.
a follow up on my Google versus Apple thing. I remembered why I started using Google Photos already when I already had Apple Photos. It's because my son took a bunch of pictures at an event and he put it in a shared drive on Google. So I had to get Google Photos in order to see his pictures.
Well, you don't have to get it for you. You can just see his photos through Google Photos without getting it for you. But once you get it, then the Google says, hey, should I take your photos? And you said yes, which is fine to say yes. And then it took your photos too, right? As well, so to say. But the same thing here, you can share an album in Apple. Now I can share an album in Apple and other people who have Apple can see it directly. But if I share an album in an Apple computer with, say, my mom who doesn't have an Apple device, I need to send her a link to that album, and then she can look into that link of that album, even if she doesn't have an Apple device, but she can't look at the album and add to it and drop things from it and share things and stuff like that. So a shared album needs you to get that app. Yeah. So like your son had a Google album, and if you wanted to interact with it other than viewing it, you need to have a Google app. Same with Apple. Right.
Well, could I have downloaded or transferred his pictures that were in Google into iPhotos or Photos?
Yeah, you can just download, but you have to download them into your computer and put them in your iPhotos, right? Does he have a Mac?
No.
Okay, so then he can't make a shared album. An Apple shared album, you can, but he can't. So then for him to see your photos, same thing, same as with you with Google. Either you adapt to Google or Google adapts to Apple, and they are competitors. So they don't make it easy, right? Because they both want your
business.
Your business. But I have been able to share albums from Apple to people who don't have Apple, as long as I send them the link. I need to send them the link, and they can make a free iCloud account, by the way. Like, you don't have to own it. You can make an iCloud account, do nothing with it, but just have an Apple ID. And then that gives you access to seeing the shared albums. But you would have to create a share. And
that's
Apple
good.
IDs are free, right? It's
Yeah,
only if you
yeah.
have stuff that you need to add it. So as long as you have an Apple ID, then they can view the Apple photos. Okay. So
Okay.
yeah, they just need to go to iCloud, Adobe iCloud, something like that.com, and say, open up an Apple ID, set one up, and there you go. That's all you need.
I'm sure he already has one.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, a lot of people have them. They don't know it because they use it for apps or for other stuff, and they actually have one. And in which case, they can see on the cloud, they can see your photos. I'm going to talk about shared albums in a bit. I want to keep moving though, because I do have more stuff to share with you today about albums. So I don't want to keep saying, I'll talk about this, I'll talk about this. I want to talk about this. So question that's has to do with what I'm saying, Mimi, and if not, I might punt you to the back. So yes,
So
Mimi.
this is about Google Photos. I have Google Photos. I don't know how it got there. I don't want it because I think it's making double photos, because I think the photos, and they keep saying I don't have any more storage, but I don't want it. And I don't know how to shut it out. And because I think what's on Google Photos is also on my library.
Yeah, for the most part, it should be duplicated. Yeah, so why do you have duplicates, right? And if you want to have it in two places, fine. Your stuff is in two places. That's up to you. I'm not going to say you can't, but if you want to shut it down, you'd have to do, I don't know 100% how to shut down Google Photos. You probably have to sign out. I can't answer that, not because I don't want to answer. I really don't know. I'd have to do a research and find. I'm sure you can Google how to turn off my Google Photos account. I'm sure someone will tell you.
Google it. That's the answer.
Yeah, Google the question, how to turn off your Google account. Exactly. All right. So as much as you can be an Apple ID person and not use the iCloud, you can choose not to do that, so you can have it or not have it. Same with Google. All right. So guys, I'm going to jump into things that we get to organize now. So one of the first things we get to do is this kind of thing where you make a general search that I just showed you and you find things based on generic answers. Now, I do want to say that when you say, for example, plant, and a plant comes up, right? And I'm going to say plant, for example, sometimes there's a plant in it and sometimes there's not. Like this photo is of a dog, but there's a plant in there. So it still comes up as a result, right? Because there's plants in there and you'd go, well, that's a photo of a dog, not a plant. This is a portrait, but see how there's a little plant right there. So don't assume that it's not working. It's just that maybe what you consider a plant isn't a plant, or isn't the main photo isn't a plant. Same with this one, there's plants, right? So you were really trying to find a photo of a plant. Well, but it gives you the result of a photo anywhere that there's a plant. Does that make sense? So you have to maybe be more specific than just plant. But I just wanted to clarify, that's not that it's a bad result. It's just that it's being more specific than you want. And then sometimes, this is not a result, by the way, for plant, but sometimes you'll get a result like this and you'll go, why in the world would this be under plant? Actually, the result is because of this one, but why would this be there? And the computer can't distinguish a plant for a non-plant, but maybe you're looking for a person and you get this photo, but sometimes these shades or these things might give a shape that might look like a plant. And if the computer just sees certain settings or things that make it look like a plant, you might get a return like this. It says plant. More and more as it's getting more and more sophisticated, it's not doing that. At the beginning, you got more of that. But yeah, there's a photo of a series of columns that I have that whenever I look for, I don't remember what the word is right now in my big library where I have a lot of libraries. I have, every time I look for, I don't know what it was, there's say water, I don't remember. And that photo comes up and I keep looking at going, how come? And then once I discovered there's a little pattern in the back of one of these columns that has this wavy line. And I guess because of that, it gave me the result of water. So now and then it'll be a bit weird like that, but for the most part, it's pretty good. But it's not exhaustive, meaning you might have other plants that never show up, right? It's not like you can trust that if you wrote plant, that every single plant you have will ever show up. And then it doesn't do animals well. Meaning it does animals and discovering that this was a dog, but it won't distinguish if this is, if I have two of these dogs and they look very similar, but one is, Matt and the other one is John, it won't be able to distinguish between two dogs of the same breed, versus it can distinguish people that are twins or stuff like that, right? Because it's much more sophisticated at reading people than it is at reading, you know, two dogs of the same shape, breed, and color. It wouldn't be able to tell you which one is one or the other. So anyway, maybe someday, but for now, with animals, it can't distinguish amongst the same kind of animal. All right. So let's head over to albums, because this is the part where we begin to say what we want to do and learn ourselves as far as how to organize our files. So over here under albums right now, I have only two. I have this one called to be edited, this one called not an album. This is a traditional album. We're talking about that. And this is a smart album. So if you have albums already, you might know what I'm talking about. If you don't, let me explain how we make albums. I'm going to go over here to the library again. Library and all photos, right? Library and all photos. So I'm going to find a group of photos that tell me something that is not findable by any of these other things. So for example, if I were to want photos from when I took my son to Berkeley, I could make an album, but in reality, I could just much more easily write the word Berkeley over there, or go to places and find Berkeley through places, right? Because those are choices that exist already. This is the only time we've been there, so this time that's enough. But over the years, as I go back and forth to Berkeley and take more photos of him, I might want to remember the first day we visited Berkeley. Well, the computer won't be able to distinguish the first day I went to Berkeley. It'll only distinguish Berkeley. Does that make sense? So if I want photos of the first day that we went to Berkeley, that would be something I would have to find on my own, in which case I could make an album. Let me explain another example. If I want photos of Christmas and I put in December 25th, it'll find me photos of Christmas or whenever your family celebrated it. But if you want the Christmas where, you know, you spent it at a certain person's house, you could also put in that address or that city. So again, that's not unique enough. But if you want the Christmas where your cousin proposed to his girlfriend, how is Google going to know that? Right? So I'm giving you ideas of things that only you know, like not Google, Apple. I keep saying Google because you guys talk at Google, but how would Apple know which of all those Christmases did your cousin propose to his girlfriend? How do you search for something like that, right? All you can do is search for Christmas, and all your Christmases try to distinguish it amongst all the Christmases. So then you would make an album called My Cousin's Proposal, for example, if you want those photos, right? Or the day your granddaughter took their first step. Again, no way that Apple would know how to find that, right? So it's those kind of things that make sense to make albums of, stuff that the metadata of a photo or the obvious aspect of a photo wouldn't tell you anything about. So over here, I'm going to go ahead, and you have your own photos. You can't use my examples, because if I write first day at Berkeley, that's meaningless to you, right? But, an example would be solstice. So here I have 3 photos of solstice. Now this is the solstice parade from, I guess, last year. Yeah, this is last year's solstice parade. I don't think if I write solstice in here, let me see. Yeah, it wouldn't find it. Why? Because we call it solstice, but remember that the solstice parade doesn't actually happen on solstice. Most of the times it doesn't fall on solstice. So I wonder if I had photos of the actual days that solstice happens, I wonder if solstice might work, but it would look for the actual solstice date. But if what I meant by solstice was the photos of my solstice parade, then I would have to make that album myself. Does that make sense? So I'm going to use that as an example because I happen to have some here. So how do I make albums? There's 3 ways of making albums. One way, which I'm going to do first, is I'm going to select my first photo of solstice. I happen to have 4 of them. And then I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to select the last one that I see. And so everything in between became selected. Okay, so all 4 photos became selected. Once I have my selection that I want, let me just say that I forgot one. I'm going to do these 3 and I forgot this one. I just do these 3, right? So then I can do now is I can create an album with this selection. And I can do that in a couple of different ways. I can over here to the word my albums right there. See my albums? There's a little plus sign that wasn't there when I didn't hover over the word my albums. It appears or disappears. I'm going to hover on this line that says my albums. And now I can press this plus sign and I can write the word and I can click on the word album. By default, since I had these 3 selected, it assumed I wanted to make these 3 be my album. And it opened up something that says entitled album. It's highlighted and it's waiting for me to change the name. So without deleting or anything, I can just write solstice. And I'm going to write solstice parade, right? To be more specific. So when I'm done, I hit return or I click some neutral place like that. And there we go. These are 3 photos of the solstice parade. Now, I didn't get them all. And maybe next year I go to solstice again or the year before, and I only grab these 3, but I have one more. Well, that's okay. I can just grab this one here and I can just drag it and drop it over here. So watch what I'm doing. My finger is the tip of my finger is or my mouse is equivalent to this arrow. And when my arrow touches the word solstice parade right here, that's when it'll come live. So I'm going to grab this photo now and I'm going to drag it over the click and drag, and my whole photo is on it. That doesn't matter. It's my mouse. See, my mouse is about to touch it. Boom, there. So when my mouse touches it, I get a plus sign and I let go, and that added that photo. Now, I don't know that it added or not. I have to trust. If I look at here, nothing has changed. His photos are still here. But when I click on Solstice Parade, now I see these 4 photos. So I've created an album, first with the 3 that I had selected, and now I've been able to add one just by dragging it over and dropping it. Okay. So this is what's really important. This has not created a duplicate. This is not, these photos are not now doubled up. They just are organized. An album is just an easy, it's like a search that you keep in a folder. So as much as last time we said dogs, and then we deleted that search and we looked for plants, there was no way to find those dogs again unless I write dogs again. But if I had made an album with all those dogs here and called it dogs, then I could just click in here and quickly get 2 dogs. In this case, I'm quickly getting to Solstice Parade. But it's just pointing to that one photo that exists over here. All right. Now, I can keep adding to it as much as I want. I have another example here that I can add into for many years. For example, over here, I have some photos of Imaronari, right? And this time, I'm not going to select anything ahead of time. I'm going to create an album with nothing selected. So actually make sure by clicking on some neutral thing here that nothing is selected. And I'm going to go and create an album. And this album now is empty. And I'm just going to write Imadonari, right? So this time there's nothing in there. So it looks empty. That's okay. I can go back to my library, and every time I see photos of Imadonari, and I'm going to go ahead, and these are all photos of Imadonari, I'm going to select this one. I'm going to select more than one, hold down my shift key, and then select the last one, which is right there. And so that's all photos of Imadonari. Now I drag them and I drop them in there, and 12 went in there at the same time. There we go. But this is 1 year's worth of Imadonari. Go back to my library, and I know that I have other years when I had Imadonari, but how do I search? I can't search for Imadonari. See, that's an example of something I can't search for. And the dates doesn't necessarily work because each year Imaranari also happens on a different date. So that's something only I can know. So this is another year's worth of Imaranari. So I'm going to throw it in there. And that's a different, oh no, this is actually the same. Sorry. I dropped it off. See, I dropped it without paying attention, and look what I did. Instead of dropping it in the right place, I created a new one. That's just because I wasn't paying attention. And here's the good news that I did that is because now I can show you that deleting this is not so dangerous because it's just an album. I can just get rid of this one. And I'm going to say delete album, right click, delete album. Okay, to this one that I don't want. First, let me grab this photo and drop it in there. I'm going to drop it where it should go, which is in Imaranari. And then I'm going to delete this one. And it's going to warn me. The items that are in here will still be visible in my photo library. So I'm not getting rid of the item that's in there. I'm just getting rid of the album in which they were organized. And that's okay. I'll get rid of it because I already put it here in Imaranari in that one. Okay. So they're pretty flexible. Now I have a whole bunch of photos from when the kids were younger of Imaranari from other years. So this is also from an Imaranari when my kid was younger. So I'm going to take that one in there and I'm going to drop it in there. This is another year. So yeah, my son has done chalk paintings for Imaranari for many years. So now I have to go and hand organize those. See what I mean? Because you know, there's no one date I can look them for. I'm going to show you some other ways, by the way. We can keyframe them, and I haven't shown you keyframing yet, but right now the only way to do this is without keyframes, keywords. We can keyword them. I'm sorry, not keyframe them, but I'll teach you that another day. For now, all I can do is put them in albums. So now I'm going to find some separate ones, like that one's Imaranari, that one's not, that one's not, that one is. So if I want to select things that are next to each other, I do Shift. But if I want to select things that are not next to each other, I'm going to select this photo here, hold down the Command key, then I'm going to select this one, and this one, and that one, and that one, and this one. These are all Imaranari, but they're not next to each other. So I'm holding down the Command key, okay? Command key gives me a whole bunch of separate ones. Now I let go of my Command key. I can grab one, any one of them, drag him over here, let go, and now they're all in there. So now I have Imaranari from when he was really little. And then I can go to the right, and then here as he's growing, he's making them more and more and more, and so on and so forth, right? So this is many years of him doing the Imaranari. I don't have the ones from this year. How interesting. Anyway, I didn't put them in here. So that's how I gathered from many different years photos of Imaranari by dragging them myself. When I recognize them, I'm putting them in there. So now out of my entire library, if I want to see Imaranari photos, all I need to do is click on this album. This is not something that any of these other searches would have been able to discover. The media types would not have been able to discover it, nor the general search would have been able to discover. So I made an album for them, okay? That's the ideal use of albums. Some people have hundreds and thousands of albums replicating dates or times or places or people. And I'm showing you how the best use of albums is for things that you can't find otherwise. It's also, though, things that you want to see all the time. Like if you want to kind of come back and look at the photos of your, I don't know, your son's wedding all the time, you don't want to be searching wedding son date. You might forget exactly what date it was. So you'll just go to the album called wedding, right? And that's cool. You can do that too. It's not like you have to have things that are findable, but you might not want to use them for tons of stuff. Like if I want to take the photos of New York, I can make a folder called New York, or I can just write New York, and then any photo of my trip to New York will be there. And if you use both together, I search for New York, I see all the photos of New York, that's good. Now I select them all, right? And then I create an album and I call it New York. So in a way, I've used the search to help me create an album like that of results for New York. And I can actually change the name and just call it New York with Vicky, which is a bit more specific because that's really what this trip was, right? Was New York with Vicky, my friend Vicky. So there you go. I went to New York with Vicky. So now I have a folder of New York with Vicky. I could have found it by places. I could have found it by search, but now I can just go quickly and go, oh, look, that's the trip that I made with Vicky to New York, and I can have it here as an album, right? So hopefully you guys can find some albums you can make. I'm answering some questions now. So Mimi.
So two questions. One is you can use one photo in several albums, correct?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, good point. Thank you. So let me give you an example. I could make an album. Yeah, I can make an album of Imaranari, which has photos of my son, but I might also want to make an album for some reason or another. I might want to make an album called Santi, right? Now, Santi, like maybe I'll call them best Santi photos, right? So I'm going to rename it and called it best Santi portraits, for example, or something like that. Maybe I call that one. So again, the computer can find photos of Santi. I haven't taught you this yet, but I will in a minute. But what it can't know is which ones are the best ones, right? So I'm going to go over here to Marinari and I'm going to say that this is one of maybe the best ones. I don't know if it's not the best one, but there you go. Say this is the one. So I'm going to drag this one into best photos of Santi. Then I'm going to go over here to my general library and I'm going to find Santi again. I don't know. Over here, and I'm going to say that's a great photo of Santi. I'm going to throw it in there. But I'm also going to have this picture under like first day at Berkeley, right? So I'm going to make an album here called First Day at Berkeley. So this is going to be my album of First Day Berkeley. Great. So now I have the same photo in Best Santi Portraits. It's in library. There it is. It's in my library. It's also under First Day at Berkeley, and it's also under Best Santi Portraits. And this one is in Best Santi Portraits, but it's also under Imaranari. Because, and I can have another one called Family Albums or whatever, but like you can have one photo and it's still one photo and only one, but you can have it in many different albums as long as it answers to that thing, whatever your album is. And as long as it works, you can have them here and here and here and in any place repeatedly. You can have an album in 4 different places. You can have an album called My Best Friends. Well, what if your sister is also your best friend? So she's under family, she's under best friend, and she's also under, whatever, people who live in Argentina. So yeah, the same photo can be in many different places. So thanks for pointing that out. And it's always one photo. And before I run out of time, because I am about to run out of time, let me do a really quick explanation, because then I want you guys to create albums of your own, but I want to show you in the Photos app. Where do you find these things? You go down here into the, I'm in the library, I go to albums, and there it is now, albums. And usually they come up on top. And now you can see that the albums I just made an album of First Day at Berkeley. There it is. So these are the photos that I just put in an album on my computer, right? And then here's the Best Santi Portraits. I just made that one, right? And the best news is that when I do this here, I can still add more. I can add more photos of Santi here. I can even add more albums. Like on my phone, I can also add another album. I can go to this little plus sign here and create a new album from here. And over here in the new album, I can call this one, I don't know. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank here. Cute Kids, for example, I'm going to call this one. My kids photos. I put a lot of my kids photos in this. So it's an album called Cute Kids. And then it's asking me, okay, what photos do you want to put in there? And so maybe I'll put that same photo again, so you can see that I can use it 3 times. There it is. I'm going to put that one in there under cute kids, but I'm also going to go down to all my other photos, and I'm going to scroll to the beginning when I had, so I'm going to say that this photo here should go to cute kids as well, right? So I can select it, and I could go up here to the top, select that, and it says add to album. Which album? I'll go, oh, that one should be under cute kids. Boom. So that photo went into the album. So now I've created on my phone an album for cute kids. I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to share my computer now. And in my computer, you saw me create it on the phone, and here it is. My cute kids is there, and there's the photo that I put in there. Okay, so you can do it on your phone or on your computer, and they're replicated different albums that we can make. All right.
Can I just say your kids got great hair?
Yeah, thank you. Yep, I agree.
Can I ask about the unedited, not the edited, but the not in albums thing that you have there? I
Yeah.
also have that, but it doesn't show up on my phone.
All right. This is a smart album. That's different. We're going to talk about smart albums later. And yes, smart albums don't, they're like searches. So smart albums don't show up on your phones. We're gonna, I don't have the time right now to explain smart albums. When I get to it, I'll explain it. And you're right, smart albums do not show up. This one that has the gears here, it's not in your phone, and it shouldn't be, but there you go. It's not perfect. People who have an iPad, I haven't checked in my iPad if the smart album shows up in the iPad. Would be interesting to know. But I'll tell you what smart albums are later, so if you don't know. And for now, so now if I click on just the word my albums, look at all the albums I have. I have the ones that I just made, and it tells me how many photos. I have 2 photos under cute kids, 22 and for Say at Berkeley, 2 of Best Santi pictures, 18, right? 22, 4. And then my request would be that you create this album. Just create an empty album called To Be Edited. And what I mean by that is go over here, click on the little plus sign. I want everyone to do this. 3 minutes before class is over. I want to make sure everyone does this. Click the plus sign, create an album, and call it To Be Edited. Okay, or for editing, or whatever you want to call it, or editing. I'm going to call this one so it has a different name as the other one. Now, why do I want to do that? And I'm going to leave mine as To Be Edited. So I'm going to get rid of this one myself because I don't necessarily need a next one. So why do I want you to do that? Because I want us to be able to learn how to edit our photos. By editing, I mean editing in the point of view of straightening, retouching, changing the light, changing the color, that kind of editing, cropping. Go and as homework between here and next week, find photos that you want to crop or make the color better or in some way or another fix, and drag that photo and put it in that album of To Be Edited. That way, next time we meet, when I start showing you how to edit photos, right, you'll have a series of photos here that are too dark or too light or to this or to that. And so when I say open one that needs to be cropped, you won't have to start searching through everything. Like this one here is crooked, right? So I'm going to show you how to straighten a photo. So I put that crooked photo in there, and I'm going to show you how to edit using that one, but I won't have to be searching here for a photo that might look crooked, right? So go ahead and create that album to be edited, and just do some quality control on your photos. And now and then when you see one that you think could have something changed or done to it, drag it in there. And over the next, a few weeks, keep dragging stuff in there so that they can do that. On your albums, can you alphabetize them is a question, and no, that would be nice, wouldn't it? But I haven't found a way to do that. It would be nice. You know what? Sort by name. Let me see. Yes, there we go. I was able to do that. So let me share my entire screen to show you how to do that. I've never tried to do that. That doesn't mean I learned things by your questions, right? So here's my albums. And I said, I select my album, not one in particular, but my album. Then I went up to view, sort by name. And there he goes. Now B, C, F, I, N, T. So now they're sorted by name. So yeah, that was possible to be done. Thanks for suggesting that, Yolanda. I wouldn't have known. You can do by oldest, by newest, stuff like that, but by name. And then Mimi?
I'm fine.
Okay. Deborah?
Yeah, it's in the organizing category too. If you wanted to have an album of cute kids and then you wanted to subdivide that, you know, into cute kids grown up.
Yeah,
can you
we're
do
gonna,
that?
we can, and it's 3:45, which means if I teach something new, some people need to leave, so I'll
Okay,
teach you that
say-
next week.
I'll
Yes,
remind you.
you can, yes, you can definitely do
like.
that, and I'll be teaching you that next week. Please
Okay.
remind me, but yeah, that's part of what I'll be teaching, so yeah. Okay,
Yes.
so yeah, create, see, like you can easily go over here and find the photos of when you went to Greece, right? But of those 700 photos in Greece, you can easily find the 700 photos of Greece, but how can you find the ones that you want to share with your family? If you only want to share 100 of them instead of 700, then you would have to make an album calling them the best of Greece. Does that make sense? So again, don't use, like, don't make dates here, doesn't make sense, or places doesn't make sense. It's more like the best of all my Christmas photos. And so then you search the Christmas photos of all your years with a search. You go here, and then you only drag the best ones into the album called Best Christmas Photos or something like that. Okay. So you guys have homework. You need to create albums, because if you don't create albums, you can't ask me questions, because when you create albums, things will come up like, Deborah, well, what if I want to divide, or what if I want to do this, or what if I want to organize? You won't have those questions unless you make them, right? So your homework is do stuff. But so Safari bookmarks. Yes, you can sort by name just about everything. And that's why when she asked that question, I said, no, but let me see. And there it was. Just about everything can be sorted by name. So Leon's saying that you can sort your bookmarks and you can sort so many other stuff. Cool. Let me see if did I miss any question? I think I got all the questions. Sometimes I skip one or not. No, I think I got them. Mimi, your hand is up. Is it different? Yeah.
It's different. So if you wanted to try to go through your photos and make sure that they're all in albums, it would not be a good idea to do it on your phone, because you have no idea what you've already put in albums.
Yeah, that's why I have this little not an album guy here that I'll teach people about it. But yeah, the only thing you wouldn't see is this one. But in the end, the thing is that it doesn't make sense that all your photos should be in albums. Like all your photos are not going to be in albums. There's always going to be a photo that doesn't fit any need or use or reason. Ideally, that means probably if you were really good about decluttering, that would probably mean that you would get rid of it, right? If it's nothing important to you. But many times you have 10 photos of a birthday party, you don't want to get rid of them, but only 2 deserve to be in an album. The other 10 can just sit there. So they don't need to be in an album, right? More, the question would be, what if you did want those 10 photos and you're not sure if they're in there, right? So then you just find them and you just drop them in. So that is useful. And again, since I haven't taught smart albums yet, I'm going to not talk about how I made it. I'll teach everyone how to do that. But first, I want people to create albums. A lot of searching will not be done through albums. A lot of organizing will be done with keywords. And I'm going to teach you keywords next time. So only certain, if you end up with, 200 albums, I have some people here who have 200 albums or more, it's almost useless, because when you have that many, it becomes a problem to sort through 200 or 2000 albums. So in the end, there has to be a very good reason to using albums, which is like, these are the best of the best or something like that, or temporary albums, like you're making a slideshow. So for now, let's make an album where I'm going to put everything I want in that slideshow. Once a slideshow is made, you can undo that album, meaning there's no reason to have albums here unless they're truly special. The keywording that we're going to do can be something that you can use for all your photos, right? And so that might be a better goal to have. And I'm going to teach you keywording. And so then you can decide if you prefer that or the other, but yeah. All right. So, but yes, since you put, like, I wouldn't go to my phone and say I can't organize because I don't know what's not edited, because if a photo is of a cute kid, I'll put it in cute kids. And if it's not because he's squirming, I just won't put it in cute kids. It doesn't matter that it's not in an album. That's, I guess, the point I'm trying to make, right? So it doesn't really matter that much, but yeah. Any other
Can I ask
questions?
you, if you, I know you don't want to talk about smart albums now, but if you keyword, can you make a smart album that says photos that have not been keyworded? So then you would know.
I believe so. I haven't tried it, but then again, I had not tried this one until someone asked me. So I'll go ahead and try it and see if we can. Yeah. I'll test it. As much as I didn't know about sorting albums, and I tested it and it worked. So I'll test that one. I have a feeling you probably can. All right.
Can you combine albums? I've got two albums, same name.
Yes and no. You would have to do it by hand, meaning if you have cute kids and best auntie portraits and you want to make an, it's very easy to slide these two from best auntie portraits, drag them into cute kids, right? I'm not going to do that right now. Then they're all here. Then I get rid of this one. And that way I've combined them. You know what I mean? Because they're already separated. I drag them in there and then just getting rid of that one. That means that cute kids now will have cute kids and all of the best auntie port. I might want to rename it to best cute kids or something. I don't know, but that's the best way to, otherwise you can't just grab two and say merge or something like that. You can't do that per se. That said, things do get, maybe there's, in the future a way, but for now, no, I do a lot of combining when I find duplicates, but that way by hand. I go, do we really need first day in Berkeley? When I have, Berkeley best, who cares about the first day? So then I'm going to grab the ones that are best, throw them into best Berkeley when there's more photos, and then I'll get rid of first day Berkeley, for example. So in that sense, they can be combined, but it's by hand. All right.
Okay.
All right. Play around. Your job is to create albums, and delete duplicates and search for things that you didn't think you could find by using the search, right? So just practice everything we've been doing and using, and have questions. That's the best homework you can do. Do stuff so that you have questions for me next week. Okay.
Thank you, Deanna. You're
Bye,
the best.
guys. You're welcome. Have a great week. Have a great time. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, Deanna.
Bye.